It's time for another vet visit here at Running Springs, but this time we are doing radiographs on the weanlings and my yearling Penelope. I didn't always do this. I didn't always do x-rays on my weanlings and yearlings, but now with how many we have, and in the past having learned from the fact that sometimes you find stuff early on and you can do a lot of preventative stuff, and sometimes you find things on x-rays that will never end up bothering the horse. Sometimes you find stuff early on and you can do something. So we just like to do a fact-finding mission when they are younger, and I like to do it as weanlings so that when we do it as a yearling, we can compare and see if anything's changed, that kind of thing. So she's already had hers done as a weanling. I believe we did a YouTube video about it with the other two from her year. And then this time we'll be doing x-rays on Daphne, Wally, and we already did some on Molly last week because she was limping. She was fine. What's really cool about the portable x-ray machine is that he takes them here, and then yes, he's gonna go back and look at them on a bigger screen just for fine details, but if anything is loudly wrong, or if there's anything like a chip or an OCD, usually you can see it right now, and so we can talk about it in person, which is really cool.
I don't see anything that's concerning.
So fortunately, looking at everything here, everything looked fine with Penelope. That's very accurate compared to her weanling x-rays. There was nothing to be really shown on anything, which is amazing to hear since she's gonna be going into some light saddle work here in the next few months, and that makes me feel a lot more confident about that. So now we are going to do vaccinations of all of the weanlings. We already did some x-rays on Molly last week because I was already planning on this, and she came up lame a couple days. Turns out she was probably just kicked or something, and so nothing shown on the x-rays, but I just wanted to be sure. I'm gun shy about stuff, and I always want to be like kind of on top of it. So now we're gonna do Wally and Daphne's x-rays. So we did this like little string test thing, and you're not supposed to do this method of string testing until they're like a yearling, but I did it for fun, and I was like, okay, we'll just kind of say it's gonna be a little bit bigger than what it's string test for now. And so you go from the middle of their knee to their cornet band. He string test already to almost 18 hands, and I'm terrified. He's doing such a good boy. Hey, look at how mangy you are. We don't want you to have a guide on it. Okay, so to put into perspective how big he possibly will be, Sophie is 17.1. Okay, that's 3 inches taller than Sophie. Sophie's up to, her back is here on me. Terrified.
Terrified. Rado, if he starts to get wobbly, just tickle his ear and see if he'll stand up. Push on that far hip over there. Yep, there you go.
Seen anything?
All looks good.
Is that little divot supposed to be there?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good divot.
That's a growth plate.
That's a good divot. We don't like bad divots.
Yeah. So you can see how thick this piece of part of the stifle is. That's where a lot of the developmental lesions happen. Mm-hmm. When the bone is being produced, a lot of bone has to be laid and deposited right in this area. And if the deposition is not what it needs to be, you end up with like a defect or black hole. Mm-hmm. That's what we call a cyst, and that's where it lives a lot of times. These look good.
Okay, awesome. Walter, you passed. Are we gonna vaccinate him real quick while he's up here?
Why he's sleepy, yeah.
So I don't go on Reddit and read mean comments or anything like that, but sometimes everyone else I know does about me, and they'll tell me the funny ones. And so there was one, what did it say from you?
It was just saying how, like, her entourage, me, Nate, Matt, and anyone else is, like, cringy lately, and they were like, for instance, Abigail, who has 0 personality.
That's rough.
Paid sidekick.
It's rough out here.
Is what they call
me.
they
call her a paid friend.
Paid friend / sidekick.
I'm like, well, she does get paid because she works, but if you're together for 40-something hours a week and you don't become friends, I don't know how that works, you know? Look at his little supermodel walk going. Little crossover. He was doing the
Who's next?
Daphne.
Daphne.
Do you know which one that is?
Yeah.
I said, do you know who Daphne is? He said, yeah, the one with the heart on her head. That's a boy, and his name's Howard.
That's Howie. Howie is that Howie Hart. That's all I know.
All right, big girl, let's keep the good streak going with good X-rays. Hold still, honey. There we go.
Stay where you are, everybody.
We'll need to do a little YouTube bump date here soon.
Yeah.
So that we do it now and then we'll do it in a few months. See how big they get. I do it pretty often on like TikTok and Facebook. I'll do it like monthly right now, and then I do it weekly when they get real big. But we probably should go ahead and do a YouTube version while they're like 5 months pregnant-ish.
Yeah, so this injection right here that I'm doing is a 6-way. It has 6 diseases that we vaccinate for: Eastern equine encephalitis, Western equine encephalitis, tetanus, rhino, influenza, and West Nile. And then botulism is this white vaccination, and then rabies.
And you don't do strangles when they're that little?
I do strangles.
Oh, I didn't see that. You had it as your little...
It's my
Your little ear
my
decoration.
It's the last one I do. They don't like that. We do it right in front of their shoulder and neck muscle. And this is going to go a lot better than the ones that are awake.
Yeah.
No more X-rays.
No more X-rays. That's all the X-rays
I
we're
thought
doing.
all of them were getting X-rays.
Well, Molly got X-rays last week because
Oh,
she
yeah,
came
yeah.
up
And
limping,
then the other
and then
two-
the other 2, when they did the pre-purchase exam, they already got X-rayed, so that's why. Okay, now we're gonna go down to all the little wiener stalls and give vaccinations. Okay, so we're doing ICSI on the 24th now again. Those 2 mares that we flushed and Beyoncé, do we want to check them soon before, like, or does it even matter?
I mean, is there going to be a point where you're like calling it and not going to do it because they're not doing anything? I mean, it'd be nice
I mean,
to
if
know.
they have like no follicles,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, do we give them some, or would you give them Lutalized to bring them in, or what would you do?
You can give them Lutalized, but
Yeah.
it just depends on what they have going on and where they are in their
Because right
cycle.
now is the 10th, so we're,
So we're
we're 2 weeks out.
14 days out.
Is now when you need to check them, or?
Now would be a good time. I don't have a. Actually, I do have a machine, so if you want to check them, we can check them.
If you have time.
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay, well, this video just got longer. We're checking mares now. There's like not a time of year we don't check
I think
mares.
I forgot how to do it.
Oh, you forgot?
Fred. I thought we were best
See?
friends. Fred, we're best friends. Stop.
Dr. Matthew likes Fred the best because
Hold that
Dr.
for me.
Matthew has an intimate relationship with his father.
With
Cool
Fred's father?
Breeze. With Fred's father, Cool Breeze. He stands him at the vet clinic. Now, the babies that did not get sedation do not like the vaccinations near as much.
There you go. We got him. How old is he? How much older is this one than Walter?
2.5 months.
All right. He's very handsome.
He is very handsome. I'm very excited for him and his new owner.
Just like the
He
dormitory.
just got a dang shot and didn't even flinch. What a good little boy. I tell you what, though, that one that you took X-rays of last week, she's mangy looking too. And she's the oldest. Look. I love when they do that.
He, in fact, did do better than Fred.
You did. Molly, you got to end it strong. You're the oldest. She was so woolly for so long, and I don't know why.
Well, she's gonna need it soon. It's gonna get cold in about 3 weeks.
So we've done ICSI one other time, and we didn't film it just because it was a really busy day. At Tennessee Equine, they don't do ICSI in-house. They have Rude and Riddle come down from Kentucky, and they do 1 to 2 days of oocyte aspiration, and then they send it off to whatever embryo place that the person chooses, which we go to Equa Embryo in Texas. So the last time, Miss Beyoncé gave us, I think, 23 oocytes, and we got 3 embryos, which is pretty good. Trudy gave us 9 oocytes, starting off a little low, and then 1 embryo. So I was just saying to them that if Beyoncé gives us a similar aspiration this time and we have a couple of embryos, that I probably won't do her anymore for a while until we need it, because I think 5 or 6 embryos in the bank is good. With the embryos we're freezing, I'm more so using them for if something happens to Beyoncé, God forbid, then I have them. And with AQHA, you can still use embryos for 2 years after the mare's death, which we hope that doesn't happen for 15 years, Beyoncé. Don't be listening to me now, okay? But it's just kind of covering your bases, you know? And so she's still super fertile and an easy breeder. And so this breeding season, I'm planning on still doing 1 to 2 embryo transfers, which just because she's so easy to do it with. And I bought a breeding to Making Me Willy Wild, which I'm very excited about. A lot of people have been like, it's kind of on both sides of the spectrum. They're like, why wouldn't you just breed to your studs? Because when I breed to other stallions, like, just breed to yours. Which some of my mares I want to still keep, you know, some genetic diversity there. Some of my mares are too closely related to my studs, and so that's why. But then also the other side of it is like, oh my gosh, why do you only breed your studs? So can't please anybody. But with Beyoncé, the hopes with breeding her to Making Me Willy Wild, which I thought that they would be a great cross for a long time, I would love if they had a filly so that I could hopefully keep it and then breed it to my studs. Stud. Only 1 stud. I couldn't breed it to Denver. I could breed it to Wayland. She got a bunch of follicles?
Yeah. Here's a
So
leftover.
Beyonce's the goat. The whole thing we want is a lot of follicles. We don't want any big follicles. We want a ton of tiny ones. So she has one that's pretty sizable, but he just keeps finding more as he goes. She's got a ton. So do we want to put her on Regimate to hold her there?
I just let her be.
Just let her
I wouldn't
be?
wanna, she's doing what she needs to do.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got CL on the right and some other follicles on the right. So she looks great.
Awesome.
What is a
She's the
CL?
goat.
Corpus luteum, where they ovulate a big follicle. That's what you breed on the follicle, and it ovulates and turns into the CL.
Okay.
That's what makes the progesterone.
Gotcha.
Beyonce's just the goat, so she has a ton of follicles. So we didn't count, but the last time, like I said, she had 23, which is a pretty good number. And then we're gonna do Trudy, which, like I said, Trudy only had 9 last time, but when we checked Trudy the last time, she had a bunch of big follicles. So we might have just hit her at like a weird time in her cycle where she had, you know, built up some big ones instead of having a bunch of small ones. Now, do you have any experience at doing this in like the fall when they're not as active with actually, you know, building big follicles? Do you think it's better during it, like the fall when it's cooler and they're not?
As long as you catch them before they go anestrus, which
Okay.
is in December. So when it's super
But if you
hot,
keep them in under lights and stuff.
yeah, when it's super hot in the summer, they stop their follicular activity. They don't totally stop it, but it's not as prominent.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it cools off, it picks back up, and then naturally it shuts down unless you keep them under lights. Like
Right.
we're talking about.
Which all of my open mares I'll keep under lights.
Yeah, so they should keep cycling if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Before last week.
Yep.
So we want no fluid and a lot of follicles.
Yep. So with Trudy, we had to clean her up a little bit a couple weeks ago because she had a little bit of a uterine, not a really bad infection. She just had a little bit of fluid in there, and so we cleaned her out with a flush and put her on some meds.
So that's her left ovary. Let me see if I can get back to it.
Oh, there's a bunch of little ones.
I can't see that far.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a bunch of little bitty ones.
Okay. 3 to 5 millimeters and larger, so
So if they're itty bitty, you need them to get a little bigger.
yeah, hopefully they keep growing. So that's normal.
Yeah, look, she don't want it. Oh,
Yeah, and she has an attitude.
look at her shaking. She wasn't like that the last time. That must be the.
She's probably had a ton of shots. She's just gotten used to that habit. But you don't
You're
have
okay.
You just have to pretend like you're gonna give her a shot, and she starts flinching.
You need a stool, Dr. Matthew?
Maybe she's big.
Sophie, if I put her out first, she'll like trot around like calling them. Like, where are my
Oh,
friends?
I love that though. I was afraid that because her previous owner told me that she's like very low on the pecking order, gets pushed around, and so I was happy that they're not
They get along.
they're not mean to her.
So she is definitely in heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw the little tomato. So she's got a 5, which when we're breeding during breeding season, you'll notice like we'll breed on a 3-5, we'll breed on a 4-4-5, you know. And so she is probably right on the cusp of ovulation, and so since we're time sensitive right now, we're just going to go ahead and give her some hystrelin, ensure that she's going to ovulate because it is in that perfect timing window. So we're not really forcing it out of time. We're just kind of helping it along and ensuring it when that's probably what it's about to do, but we don't really want to take the chance that it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Because if it doesn't, she could hold on to that follicle, not build any other follicles, and by the time we go to do ICSI, which we want a bunch of little ones, we want as many as we can get. So now we gotta let everybody wake up. Miss Sophie and Trudy and Beyonce all got checked. All I think is going to work out for ICSI. Let's cross our fingers. And then everybody else got x-rays, and hallelujah, they were all clean, which as a breeder makes me so happy. And everyone got vaccinated, all the good things. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We haven't done vet stuff in a minute, so it was kind of cool to shake things up a little bit. Let me know if you have any questions, and let me know what you would like to see in future episodes.